Hey, my friends, Randy Chafee, Building Wins Live. Glad to be with you another Tuesday. And today, I'm excited to talk to a friend of mine, Mike Brooks with the Audit Sales. He's a B2B marketing pro, and we're going to chat a little bit about what he does at Audit Sales to assist sales guys and businesses. But we're also going to talk about his thoughts and beliefs and where we've been, where we're going with B2B marketing, which is what most of us do. And I think you're going to enjoy talking to Mike. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. There he is. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Randy. Good to see you. I love the map. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of omnipresent, right? Or at least I like to think I am. So, unfortunately, we should have adjusted the map. We can't point where you are on there. You can point where I am right now, but but thanks for taking the time to be on. I know you've been doing a lot of travel in the last week or so, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. We are back into live events. Like all of a sudden, we pulled off the Band-Aid at our company, and I was in Florida actually, in Orlando last week, because I think that's the only state that will let you do live events right now.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky here. I'm a big fan of our governor. Not to go political at all, because I won't, but it's been pretty pleasant here. Let's just put it that way. I'm here for another little bit. We'll go back to Michigan here for some summer months, but actually I'm traveling. I got a lot of travel coming up too over the next the rest of summer. I pulled, as you said, the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid has been pulled from my standpoint also, and it's and as we may talk as we go through this conversation today. I've learned some things, virtually, that allows me to augment some of the travel, right? And find maybe I don't have to be 11 out of 12 weeks of 5 to 6 days a week, right? But there's still a lot more traveling coming. So, but before we get into that, first thing I always like to start out with is a very open-ended question about who in the world is Mike Brooks? That's kind of like who in the world is Waldo, right? But give us a little bit about who Mike's. I know you're from Connecticut, but give us the 30-second, 45-second, a minute, whatever version of who Mike Brooks is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm just an average Joe from Connecticut. I graduated and got a job in the workforce, and then realized I wasn't meant for the workforce. Quit my job after I was working for, and I worked in a computer, IT department. I was a programmer, little customer interfacing type, and I discovered at that point I was more into the customer interfacing type things, more of a sales type person, and went and became a martial arts school owner. I'd been doing martial arts for many years and joined my instructor and became partners and loved it. Got bitten by that entrepreneurial bug and built a pretty solid school from I was doing all the sales and marketing. And then that was probably about 2007 or so. Things started going very, between 2004 and 2006, things were really internet heavy, more so with advertising and marketing. And I kind of rode that wave ahead of the curve a bit and got into internet marketing that way. Started helping my fellow business owners in my community, and then started a marketing agency in about 2006, 2008-ish, somewhere in that window. And at 2010, I sold my share of the school back to my partner and took on the marketing agency. Did that for many, many years and retired that actually 2 years ago to go full-time with a company that I had been a equity partner in called Audit. And that's where I am today.
Perfect. So you're in is it Southbury? Is that correct?
Yep.
Connecticut. Where exactly is Southbury? Because I've never heard of that.
So if you're, Connecticut is basically New York East or Boston South. That's how Connecticut is split. You're either on the Boston side or New York side. So I'm on the Western Connecticut side. I'm about an hour outside of New York City, up the 684 to 84 corridor. Southbury is about exit 14. Exit 1 is right on the state line in New York. So
Okay. Okay.
Western, yeah, grew up in Danbury, which is on the border there, and haven't gone far.
I know Danbury. Yeah. Nice. So that's interesting. So you got started in the sales bug bit you, and that's interesting because that's one of those bugs that I think it's not for everybody. But boy, when it bites you, you might try leaving it for a while, but you always come back, right? And I remember I've been doing this for, I always put 4+ decades, but it sounds like I'm less old than 40 years because that sounds like a long time to me. But I spent a little bit of time in purchasing, a few years, which helped me in the world of sales to be on the other side of the desk, right? But boy, you talk about the bug. I had to get back on the road runner, the road warrior, the run and gun side of the desk. That was I figured out when you mentioned that wasn't for you. It doesn't take long to figure out if you're born to be a sales guy and you get out of it. You just got to go back, right? And obviously that happened to you.
Yeah, I'm a relationship person. I like being around people. I think I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. So it takes me a little more energy to do the things that normal salespeople, I think some salespeople are good at. But I am very good I'm a good listener. I've always been a really, really good listener. And I think that's what has made me friends over the years. I noticed that looking back that all of my friends have come because of good listening skills. And people end up liking me when I think, why do they even, I can't understand why they like me. And it's because I think I'm really good at listening. And, it just kind of evolved. I mean, I've done sales jobs, retail and things as I was growing up, but I don't know that I had really recognized I was good at it until I owned my own business. I think I would have been served better if I kind of, back when I was in college, realized that, this is what I should be doing. And I kind of went in a direction of a more technical minded person. And that wasn't for me. So, I love, I consider myself a sales and marketing person because really it started with marketing. I really was very attracted to the idea of attracting business, but I approached it from a sales centric area. Like I always feel, and I still feel, that sales and marketing are yin and yang. You can't have one without the other. Salespeople have to be marketing people have to be selling. So that's
and that's interesting. And especially I think in a lot of times, in the bigger the organizations, right, there tends to be an attempt to distinguish between sales and marketing as two separate divisions almost, right? But I think what you just hit on is, while they could be in a large enough organization, maybe they should be, but boy, you're right. I think that relationship back and forth has to be there to make it work, because neither one's going to survive without the other, right? At the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, big companies it's interesting. I think in big companies, unless they're really progressive, it can be a little adversarial. Because if the salespeople aren't selling, who are they going to blame? Marketing.
Yeah. Right.
And if the marketing people aren't bringing in leads and quality, then who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the salespeople. So
right.
When you get into that corporate structure, I think it takes a lot of discipline and good leadership to turn that into a team. It becomes a little trickier.
Yeah, I can see that. Most of my experience has been as a rep agency, manufacturers, and so in my rep agency, Source One Marketing. So I mean, marketing in my agency name, and probably that's only for one reason only, because I wasn't smart enough when I set this up 35 years ago that didn't make sense. I mean, I seen a lot of people that had marketing in their name, and that sounds right to me, right? Yeah, I'm more of a sales agency than I am a marketing agency, even though I found over the years that what you just hit on a minute ago, it kind of piqued my interest, because all my manufacturers all have marketing divisions, if you will. It could be one person, it could be two or three, but I mean, they supply some marketing, right? But
Right.
I figured out early on that I want to augment what they do, not replace what they do as a sales agent, right? As a rep agency. I want to be able to take whatever great stuff they bring to the table and further market my own area, right? My own territory. So I do spend probably more time maybe than some quote sales guys would in the world of marketing, because you always got to be looking for that, whatever percentage, I'm back up, but whatever percentage you put on how much time I should be spent on finding new business versus maintaining old business. And I suppose that can be a little subjective, right? But you got to spend some time looking at business, right? And I think the more you can fine tune that with, in my case, the manufacturers that I work with, if you work together and you augment what they do, they augment what I do, and that's been a great relationship. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's and my fortunately I don't even have a yin and yang. I have a yin yang or something. I don't know what a yin yang. But so anyways, I don't know if that makes any sense from what you see, but I think it makes sense in my world, anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's and you're always, we're always doing it whether we think we are or not. As soon as I mean, here you are doing a Facebook Live, right? You're not selling anything right now, but you're selling something, right? You're selling yourself. You're both you're building rapport with people. So people who are watching this, who are your fans, who come to this and see this on a regular basis, are people who you're furthering relationship with all the time. That's a sales thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also putting content out in the world, which is a marketing thing.
Right.
So you're doing sales and marketing right now by doing this. I mean, and I think we all do that. Every time we post on social media, we are marketing ourselves, whether it's our and through that we're marketing our company. So your personal brand building is just an extension of what you do for your company.
So personal brand building, I'm glad you hit on that. That is probably in the last few years have been a little more of a keyword with some people, right? Like it's almost brand new. Right. I don't think it's not brand new, is it, Mike? I mean, some people may find it brand new because they never thought about it. But personal branding, let's talk about that, because I know you're kind of into that and you do a great job with it. As an agency, it's a little different because I have a lot of responsibility for doing that for myself. But even if you're working as an employee, a company guy, so to speak, you still need to market your own personal brand, don't you? I mean,
of course,
I think you do.
Of course. I mean, and this is, we get caught up in, I think, the technology sometimes and forget that this is just natural, the way you do it. Like social media magnifies what you can do. There is no mistake about that. You can turn on a live video today. The technology allows you to broadcast on LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube. And if you're on these certain networks, I know LinkedIn right now from a technology standpoint has their algorithm is going to favor the live stuff. So if you're doing a live video, you're going to get more exposure, more people are going to see you. But let's think about, what did we all did this before this technology. We just did it in a different way. Mm-hmm. One of the ways you do this is by going to a chamber event, maybe, or a BNI group or a networking group, or being at some kind of live networking event or some kind of trade show where you have a booth and you have exposure and you're doing things. You may be handing somebody a white paper or some kind of brochure, or talking to people, just chatting and providing your expertise and your knowledge and building rapport. It's the same thing, right? It's just this social media stuff just amplifies our reach, and, just keep doing what you're doing. Here's the deal. I mean, if you're not doing that kind of stuff, you should have been doing it anyway, right? Like you got to be out there.
Right. Right. And you hit on a term, magnifier. I like that. I wrote that down. I may use that. because it sounds even better than I use force multiplier sometimes, but I like magnifier too, because you're right. And you just said you shouldn't have been. And if you haven't been, you should start doing those things already. If you haven't, but you better start. And like you said, I'm
probably
going to a trade
amplify
show.
is probably a better word, like an amplifier.
Amplify. I like
That's
amplifier.
probably an even better word, because it's like it allows you, when you're at a networking event, right? You can talk to a fixed amount of people in a room. When you're basically, social media is like putting a microphone that goes out to the world.
Exactly. And what I found, or at least what I think, and I'm going to throw this out there because I'm looking for an expert opinion now. I do product stuff, and I talk about products, live videos, product trainings, just post. But I also try to intermingle that with Randy, some thought I have, a walk and talk, or a writing talk if I'm driving or setting, or a set of talk as I'm setting here, things pop in my head. But I think that's all part of a marketing overall scheme, if you will, right, or plan, because people want to know Mike Brooks, right? Before they buy from Mike Brooks, they want to know Mike Brooks. They want to know you as a person. They want to know that you're a real guy with, and kind of learn your personality, right? So I've always felt like if the more potential customers or existing customers know me as a person, the more they're likely to look at this product video that I put up, as opposed to the other way around. And that's a take. And I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
100%. I mean, there's, it's not just one thing that you're doing. People still buy from people, right? We've heard that all the time. If you're in the sales business, they buy from people. All sales are emotional. I mean, I throw a bunch of these sales cliches at you, right? Like we buy from people, we buy on emotion. So now from a marketing standpoint, it's our job to kind of lead people down the path from the thing we want them to do. So to me, marketing is like thinking strategically about the steps and understanding where you need to be to get the attention of the right people and take them down the right steps, right? So if you're a B2B person and you're playing around on Instagram, taking pictures of yourself by the pool, maybe that's not the right audience. That's going to be a buying audience, but you can still amplify result. You'll still get people that'll watch you, but maybe it's not the right people. So it's like understanding where your market is. And probably if you're in the B2B world, it's LinkedIn. That's like a standard, and what do you want them to do, right? We want to get their attention. We want to get them interested in us as a person with the right messaging to a certain extent. Like, so we don't want to talk about maybe the recipe that we're cooking. I shouldn't say that. There is a time for that, but for the most part, we want to be talking about the things that are resonate with the perfect client of ours, right? Like, so for me, I work for a company that is IT. It's in the where we service the IT industry, and we help them sell. So I talk a lot about sales and marketing, right? I give sales tips. and it's always specific to that IT industry, even though people who aren't in the IT industry will get it, but I try and put an angle on it. So everything I'm talking about, I'm trying to talk to my perfect audience. Sometimes I'm having fun with them. Sometimes I'm doing something goofy and silly, but I'm always trying to stay in that lane of who am I talking to? And then what's the goal? I want to get them down the rabbit hole of me and my company. So I'm always doing these things that are strategically organized to get them to take the right steps into the right place.
So I'm going to make a note because I want to come back to something strategic is important in a minute. Mark Gasser, Mark, our mutual friend, Mark, just popped up with a comment. He talked about looking good, gentlemen. Well, Mike is looking pretty well. He said trade shows. Now that's an industry I know. I think about face-to-face marketing process. Amplify is the word. I like that, Mark. Thank you. Anything you want to say to our brother Mark, our friend, our pal?
Yeah, always good to see Mark. I follow Mark and watch what he's doing. We're always chatting back and forth. a bit. So great to see you, Mark. I see the name now. Now I'm in the comments section. So
Yeah.
you know, what's funny, Randy, is I do my broadcasts on StreamYard, but I've never really been in StreamYard as a guest. So it's a
Okay.
little bit, I'm out of my game.
Oh, that's
I'm off.
okay. No, Mark's become a good friend of mine, and he's honored me to be on his show a couple times, and I think it's because I messed up so many times that he keeps bringing me back. Sooner or later, I might actually say something that makes sense. But
You're doing great.
but he'll be on, and he's going to be on Building Wins Live late July, I think it is. So I'm looking forward to that, and. I'm just worried that I'm going to say something really wrong and he's going to do his umpire thing and throw me out, But
Mark's
anyway,
a good guy, and Mark's doing
yeah.
great content too.
Yes, he is.
Both
Yeah, Mark does some good stuff. So, but that's easy for you to say, strategic. So, I think some people maybe get very strategic, and I think some people find themselves in the middle somewhere, and then some people probably have no strategy at all. They just literally start firing stuff out and whatever sticks. I'm going to guess I know where you'll go with this, but of those three options, unless there's an option I'm missing, should be pretty strategic with our overall marketing plan, obviously, and especially when it comes to social media. Because I think, and I'm reading into what you said, but I know you mentioned knowing your audience, staying in your lane. There's things in anywhere that you might say off of the show. You and I might say that you don't say on the show, right? Because you got to stay in your lane, and you just everything. Once it's out there, right? And
right.
So I think it's important to stay in your lane, as you said. But how important is it for folks that maybe are that are listening or watch on replay and want to maybe develop a little more of a marketing plan, if you will? How important is there to have this at least loosely written strategy as to here's the 5-6 things I'm going to do, here's how I'm going to do it, here's my goal, here's my plan? Or are you a little more of a loosey-goosey, just kind of start throwing stuff up and see what sticks? I think I know where your answer is, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, it's a little of both, or a little of all of the above. I mean, I'm always trying new things, but I'm also, I've been doing this for a long time, so I know the kind of things that work, and I can just install the things that I want into the right place. It's easy for me to build landing pages and funnels and content and things that, go down. I've been doing this for a long time, but for people who haven't, start with start with the people you're talking to. So if you're out there selling and talking to people, to me, like, salespeople make the best marketing people, because the salespeople are trained to make a transaction happen, kind of start to finish, right? Like, and you're asking for them to do something along the way. Salespeople are always not just closing the sale, but let's set the appointment. Hey, from prospect, cold prospect to sale. There's always these little closes that happen during the course of that action. And salespeople are in tune with making that transaction happen, whether the transaction is the close, or whether the transaction is setting that first appointment or a follow-up appointment, or something along that path. So you're talking to your clients, and you have that philosophy already, but when you're talking to your clients and listening to their questions, you get the same questions over and over again, right? Like, everybody in sales gets probably the same 3 to 5 to 10 questions over and over and over again in different ways. From that point, you can create all sorts of stuff, content, video, audio, podcasts, written, that address those questions. And when you're answering the questions that somebody's asking you, your perfect prospect is asking you, that's the kind of stuff that you use in your marketing. So your marketing plan should be focused on what your customer needs along the journey. So you've got some content that is geared towards that cold prospect, because a cold prospect has different questions than somebody about to close, or somebody who's been a customer for 6 months or a year. So gather those questions. Really I think the best advice I can give is be in tune with what you're being asked on a regular basis. And like I said, it's going to be 3 to 10 things. Write about that all the time. in martial arts, when I was doing martial arts lessons, when I was trying to do keyword stuff, to be found on Google. It's like, what's going to be the most attractive keyword I can go after? And it's going to be price or cost. So I wrote about how much martial arts costs and the price of martial arts lessons in a gazillion different ways. All sorts. I make videos about, it's literally talking about the same exact thing, but I would talk about it over and over again. And you probably see this in really good people who are out there doing lives, people that we follow who talk about really the same things over and over again. They do it in different ways. They're always taking that content and putting a new twist on it. And that's, to me, where, people should start with. I know you didn't ask me for that advice. You asked me what specifically which of those two things I went with. But, my advice for people looking for, because I think that's what people always struggle with is content and how to create that content through the marketing funnel. If you're writing to or filming and whatever you're comfortable with, whether you're better at writing or video or whatever, do that thing and just keep creating things that you can put out into the universe that your clients are looking for, right? Your prospects are looking for.
Yeah. That's good advice. And, you said earlier a few minutes ago about that you might be a little bit more of an introvert versus an extrovert, which I think you're a little more extroverted than you might give yourself credit for, but you're a good listener. And you talked about that. And I think that comes back in the whole sales process and the marketing process, right? We all know that if we listen to customers and ask enough questions and then keep our mouth shut and listen, they'll tell us what they want. Right. They'll tell us what they need. It's just a matter of them supplying the right answers and getting the right answers and presenting it in a form that makes sense and putting the whole program together, right? We don't have to figure out what they want. We listen to them, right? They'll tell us all day long if we ask and then zip the mouth and listen to what they say. But I made a note to myself, because this is something I talked about with my girl Lizzie, my assistant that does a lot of marketing work for me, and we talk about this often. I use it and I flip it. I love weird stuff, but we talk about consistently random and randomly consistent. You can use it either way, but what I love about that is, and again, I'd like your opinion on this. I've told her in our marketing, as we go out and do things, I want us to be a bit of consistency to where people know Randy's going to be there. I'm going to be there all the time. I'm going to have certain types of messages, right? I'm going to talk about products, about services, about new things. I'm going to share customers and what customers do and promote my customers that are already online. I'm going to bring you some hopefully motivational, inspirational, positive thoughts and things that pop in my head. But we're going to do it different ways. It might be a walk and talk one day, and tomorrow and this afternoon it's a little more buttoned up video, right? So I want to surprise them sometimes with the delivery, but still be consistent with the message and consistent that I'm there on a regular basis. And I don't know whether we accomplish that well yet, but that's certainly the goal. And does that make any sense? Is that approach make any sense?
You're doing what everybody does in this business, is we second guess whether what we're doing works and if we're doing the right thing. That's natural. And that's the funny thing about marketing is it can be, you're never doing enough, right? You can always have more, and you can always do. You do want a strategy to a certain extent, right? You kind of want to plan things and understand it, but these plans don't have to be elaborate. It can be written on a, index card. It's just, here's who I want to talk to. Here's what I want to talk to them about, and here's what I want them to do every step of the way. I want prospects to make appointment with me because of this reason. I want people to buy this product, and it can be very, very simple. The fact is, if you're posting and doing things and talking about your things, right? Like, and you can go the other end too. You can go too hard sell, right? Like if you're always doing content like this, where you're just selling your product and you're talking about why people should buy your stuff, you're going to turn everybody off. right? Except for that one person who may have stumbled upon this that is interested to buy right now, but everybody else is just here. And the more you make the content accessible, the better it's going to be. It still has to have some kind of strategy behind it, but it doesn't need to be so overthought. And then don't be so critical hard on yourself, right? You kind of look at what's happening. Is this stuff working in the aggregate? And it can be hard to measure. I mean, you're not going to be able to go and attribute sales necessarily to your live videos or your podcast, but it's part of the game and it really does work. I'm telling you, from when somebody goes, and there's all sorts of different prospects that come to you in all sorts of different ways. But if somebody's just doing Google searches on what it is you do, and they stumble upon your content, and then they start digging down into your website, and they find your podcast and they listen to your podcast for a week because they can't get enough of it, you're going to win over the other person who doesn't do that stuff every day because you've dragged them into your web.
Yeah.
And they're stuck there. They can't get away. They can't even look at other competitors because they got stuck in your web first. Your content's more out there. And that's what people do, right? Like when we go to buy something, I always do the research online, unless it's something that, like, a screwdriver. Even if it's a screwdriver, I probably do some research, and I'm looking at YouTube videos. I'm looking at, I'm going down the rabbit hole of content. Whoever has a lot of good content is pulling me into their web. Mm-hmm. So long story short, I'd say, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great, and you're going to be your toughest critic. We're all going to be our own toughest critic, but it's, you just got to be confident that you're doing the right things.
Yeah. But in a term I use once in a while, and maybe it's just to let myself off the hook sometimes, I suppose, I mean, not that you would do that probably, but, is as long as it's good, done is better than perfect. And I have to remind myself that, because because again, it's social media. Okay, this is not a Hollywood thing with the little clapperboard, and we're not looking for a Grammy here, right? It is what it is, and that's, I think, one of the biggest. As I've talked to some folks, that's just about what I do and my little journey into this world. The raw and organic is two words that I've heard. I didn't make those up myself, but I think they're real. Is people want natural. They want the real Mike Brooks, not some facade. Like there's a director and makeup and this perfect thing. That's not what they're looking for, right? They're looking for Randy or Mike just, hey, I got this product. I think you might like it. If it works for you, I'd love to chat with you, right? That's what they want. If you stumble over a word, or you sit there and you go, what was that? Oh, yeah. You don't erase that. Go with it, right? Because I'm not saying I haven't done a video before where I just go, okay, you big, start over because I got everything wrong. But I think that's important too. So maybe the final thought I have, then maybe give us a little bit of kind of your commercial if you want, what you do. But so guys, if anybody's watching, we kind of touched on this, but maybe summarize for some of my friends that are going, you know what, I throw a post up once in a while. Every couple of weeks I like something, I share something. There's fear of going out and like putting yourself out there and doing things. You just got to get over that, don't you? You just got to go out and do it and do it and do it and do it consistently. And the more you do it, the more you get good at it or better at it, or at least not as bad at it. And the fear starts going away, right? But doing nothing in today's, use amplifier. In today's amplified world, if we aren't amplifying, there's 12 other people doing what we do. And if they out amplify you, to use your term, you're probably going to, I don't say you're going to lose, but you're not going to win as well as you could win. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I believe so. I think we live in a different economy now. Everybody knows that they can find out everything they want about a business by searching on them. And if you don't have, if you don't have things out there, you're just going to miss some of the fish in the ocean. You're still going to get your fish. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if you buckle down and every day you come into work and say, screw this content, I'm just going to call 100 people today, every day, and I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to make some appointments, and that's your focus. And and Pete, you're probably doing that anyway, right? Like I think all good salespeople are doing their prospecting, but you could say, I'm just gonna hammer people all day, every day, and be pretty successful. But you are definitely going to miss some of those fish, because some of those people are going to hear your voicemail, and then they're going to look for you online. They don't see anything. They don't know who you are, and they're not going to call you back. They're just not. You know, they want to go and look at who it is they're talking to first. And I'll give you a good example. Somebody texted me on Facebook that I didn't recognize. So I went to their profile and I looked through their profile. I'm not going to text them back unless I think this person is a person, and that there's a, you know, what's their agenda? They're just, is it a spammer? Is it somebody trying to sell me something? Is it a customer? And I did a bit of research. I went on LinkedIn to look at the person before I even decided what I was going to do. So it's not like you're not going to fail in life because you don't do content and you're not out there on social media, but you would definitely miss an opportunity to catch some fish in the long run.
Great point. Well, so I decided, usually we do 30 minutes, and I decided we have this, a flow was good, a great conversation. We just kind of roll on through for a couple minutes longer, if that's okay. So audit sales. I don't know, in my world, if that, you're more of an IT guy, right? Is there anything that you might be able to do for any of the folks in my industry, which is the metal roofing, post frame building, metal frame building? Give us a little, maybe a little closing here. Who is on sales? What exactly do you guys do besides sales and marketing?
We're a software company.
Okay.
We create, our software generates a sales presentation specifically for outsourced IT companies. They're known as managed service providers. Outsourced IT is what you would hire, who you would hire to come in and manage your IT if you didn't have the budget to hire a full IT department. You just hire a company that does that for you. And we are niche specific to IT guys. So the whole sales presentation is all around technology, selling cybersecurity, selling managed services, selling infrastructure and support. So it's not really something that anybody can use. You have to be an IT guy, even though there's some customization to it. The language and everything is all designed around IT guys. And the concept is, if you're an outsourced IT guy, the biggest challenge is explaining things in language that the layman, the business can understand. So audit puts it in simple, easy to understand terms. I was really attracted to it just because it's my sales philosophy is, listen and then present back in a way that is easily understandable to that person who's not an expert at what you do. So
Gotcha.
That's what audit is.
West just popped stuff up there. So, well, awesome. So, and that explains, I knew looking, at your LinkedIn, as you said, page and having chatted with you in the past, that what I really felt you'd bring to the Building Wins Live viewers would be your B2B marketing expertise, and I appreciate sharing your thoughts. I think some of that is very beneficial, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun reconnecting with you, and I do see you online. I watch your videos sometimes, and it's great. I think you're doing some great stuff. Keep it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being on. And hey, if I can ever do anything to help you, let me know.
Thanks, Randy. Much appreciated.
All right, my friend. Mike Brooks, B2B Marketing Pro, Audit Sales. Thank you very much. Cheers, brother.
Take care.
You too, buddy. All right. So I hope you found that as interesting as I did. I made a page of notes, and there's some things. Remember, amplify. I love that. That's probably one of the biggest things that I made. Big circle, magnify, amplify. It's important stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and as much as I did. So next Friday, not this coming Friday, but the 28th, we're going to have a little short hiatus here. I have to make a transition. We're going to go to Fridays at 3 p.m. This will be the last, unless we do a special edition someday for whatever reason. This will be the last Tuesday at noon. We are going to transition into Fridays at 3 p.m. mainly because as I get back on the road more, I've got schedules like crazy for the next several months now. A lot of travel, trade shows coming back, customer visits. Any of y'all that are on the road sales guys realize that we have to be on the road T to T, right? Tuesday to Thursday is an automatic, and I needed either a front end of Monday, get back Friday, or vice versa. And so Wes, my director producer, decided we was going to go to Fridays at 3. So that will start on the 28th. Got a great starting guest too. There he is, and Clancy Clark. He's an author. He's a sales pro. He's one of us. He's an inspirational speaker, speaker in general, and just an all-around great guy. And I've got to know Clancy over the past few weeks. We've chatted 2 or 3 times on the phone. I enjoy conversations with Clancy. Here's his book. We're going to talk about his book, Selling by Serving, which leave it up. It's a great book. If you haven't had a chance, or you're in the sales at all, and you're in the relationship building belief in sales, awesome book, easy read, well written. And we're also going to talk to Clancy about his new book, and I should have wrote it down. I didn't. He'll tell us the name of it when he comes on. But we're going to talk about his new book he's working on right now. Just going to talk about sales in general and selling by serving, as he talks about, and building relationships and where he got his start, where he's at. Do not want to miss this one. Clancy's the real deal. So that will be 3 o'clock Eastern, the 28th. So until then, you probably won't see a Building Wins Live for that's about 10 days now. A little hiatus there as we make the switch. I might have a special, maybe, but probably we'll just look towards the 28th. So that's it. So thanks for all you do. Thanks for being a viewer of Building Wins Live. Please share it out, comments, whatever you get a chance. But thank you for being a supporter of Building Wins Live. And remember, we only go around once on this planet anyways. So live it, own it, and make today your best day ever. Till tomorrow. Cheers, y'all.